You have a website, steveshank.com. And you and I have known each other for a lot of years. I've been working with you in marketing and stuff for I don't know how many years now.
20 some odd.
And
Jeez.
and one day you said, "Hey, I've written a book, and I'm going to send you an electronic copy." And it was transformational. I know the book's undergone edits and changes and things since I got my first initial electronic copy. But I mean, it was pretty amazing stuff. Because I think what a lot of people are looking for is they're looking for a tooth fairy type magic potion genie, whatever, to come along, rub the magic lantern and get your three wishes granted kind of an experience. And I'm not sure, having been around you for the number of years that I've known you, that you haven't actually kind of found that magic lantern, in the
Right.
Guardian Code. So I want you to explain to people, what was the catalyst for, because it's way more than a book. You've created a system, a formula that is powerful, that is life changing, that is designed to help individuals get past a lot of just worldly caused silliness in their lives. What gave you the concept, and how did the book develop, and then later the Guardian Code? I guess I'm asking you to tell us your story.
Um, it's a simple answer. It's called starvation.
Oh, that'll work.
It really is. Sherry and I had a bunch of kids, and I was in direct sales. That means you deal with individuals on a one-to-one basis. And my constant struggle was to figure out how things worked. And one of the biggest things involved with sales, anyone who's been in it realizes, is that you've got a tremendous number of variables. I used to envy people that were in athletics because it was so simple for them. Now, I know that all the athletes out there are going to say, yeah, you think it's simple. You try and do what I do. Well, I agree. It's not simple like it takes no effort, but it's simple in concept in all the variables you have to deal with. Just for example, let me just compare the two. Let's say you're running the 100-meter dash, okay? You've got one job, and that's to get from here to 100 meters down the track in the shortest period of time possible. That's all. It's very simple. What are the variables? Well, your physical capabilities, your technique that you can learn from a coach as to how to run and be more effective and get the efficiency out of each step and all that. But if you look at all of the variables involved with a sales situation, they're infinitely more. So let's jump over to a salesperson. They have to, first of all, find somebody to talk to. Then they have to make an appointment with them. And what are the variables there? You don't know the situation. When you pick up the telephone to call someone to make an appointment to visit with them, you don't know who kicked their cat that morning, what their situation is, whether they're just being totally irritated by the telephone call, whether they want to talk to you, whether they're interested in what you are dealing with or not, and what their environment is, whether they have, what kind of a relationship they have with their spouse, what's going on with their kids. All of that affects whether you're going to get the appointment. And once you get the appointment, then it's a matter of going out there and showing up, and the variables are, will they be there? Will they be receptive? Has something happened between the time that you talked to them and when you didn't, and when you got there, that actually affected their attitude? You've got a whole bunch of variables connected with whether you even get inside their home to sit down in the living room and chat for a little bit, get acquainted so that they can see what kind of a character you are and you can assess the situation that you're in, which could be, again, a whole myriad of variables, the relationship between the couple and whether they're both there. As you know from having been in sales, when you're dealing in the home, you have to have both people there. Otherwise, it's what's referred to as a one-legger, and the probability of getting him to say, yes, this is a good idea, I'm going to commit to, without her approval, and vice versa, is it used to be rather negligent, or you couldn't even possibly get that done unless you were really good or unless they really wanted the product. And it goes on and on and on from there. So what I was dealing with is trying to go out there with the best product possible. And then you have product issues, whether your company is going to provide the kind of service that you need, whether the product is everything that you are led to be, to believe as a salesman that it should be, and whether the company backs it up and whether they actually do with the product what they promised that they would. And so you've got those variables. So it becomes almost endless. So what you're doing is you're trying to figure out how to be consistent and enable things to happen consistently enough so you can make a living. That's why 100 years ago, at least, I understood that for every want-to-be insurance agent that starts out taking training, maybe 1 in 10 actually stay with the company for, I can't remember what the period of time was, but at least a significant period of time so that they can at least produce some things. So what I was trying to do was figure out all those variables. And my big objective once I was able to take an order from someone, then the question came, how can I duplicate that? And so I studied. I've been at this for 40 years, Roger, for crying out loud. This is ridiculous. But the fact is that I would sit down and try and figure out how I could duplicate that, how I could duplicate the telephone conversation that set the appointment, how I could duplicate successes as they went along so that I could enable people to see as I saw, feel as I felt, think as I thought, and act as they needed to act in the light of their own self-betterment. And of course, that dealt with dealing with the company also, making sure that they provided what I had told the people that they were going to. That sometimes is a real issue with credibility out there. So where it came from was starvation. And as I went through the years and became better at figuring out how to duplicate success, it's one thing to go out and make a nice sale, and the law of averages takes over there. You do enough things often enough with enough people, and eventually you will have some success, but not enough to survive on unless you hone your skills and learn how to do it. So that's a long-winded explanation of the number of variables you're dealing with. So all of this stuff came from looking at how people think and how they react and what people feel good about. And when you go into their home, if you look around and see what interests them and what they like, and if you have similar likes and interests, then you can relate to them, and your law of averages, as it were, the number of efforts compared to the number of successes, increases as people feel more comfortable. Then you eventually learn that people don't buy the product. When you're dealing with a sales situation, they don't buy the product. They can't possibly know enough about that product to be sure that it's going to be exactly what they want. They buy the salesperson.
Exactly.
And the problem that you have is there are a lot of salespeople out there that are not salespeople. They're con people. They're con men. And the difference between a salesman and a con man is that they both are able to do exactly the same thing. They're able to help the people see as they see, feel as they feel, think as they think, and act as they need to act. But the con man gets them to act in the light of his own self-betterment, and the salesperson, the true salesperson, gets them to act in the light of their own self-betterment. So what happens is that people have a natural resistance or discomfort with salespeople because they have the impression the salesman can get them to do what they don't want to do. Not true. That's a con man. But so going through this, I learned principles like, if you get to know someone, even someone that looks really gringy, and it comes across very negative to you. But if you get to know them, you have to like them. And that's where the principle "to know me is to love me" came about. And I tested those principles and looked at what was going on out there. The second, another great principle in relationships is I like me best when I'm with you.
Right.
Causes me to be around you. If you're constantly putting me down and making me feel uncomfortable with who I am or what I am, if you're belittling me, I will avoid you. I don't want to be around you. This happens a lot of times in relationships. A lot of chauvinistic men belittle their wives and treat them very poorly, and as a result, they don't have a companion; they have a slave. And the women pretty soon realize that, and they don't like it. So some of your feistier ones, your more aggressive ones, will say, you know, heck with you, buddy, I'm out of here. And divorce occurs because people. Another principle is that if everyone in a marriage relationship or in a husband and wife or love relationship treats the other one in the way that they treated each other when they were courting, when they were both trying to make the other one feel the best about themselves when they were with them, those relationships would go on forever. But people don't. They get lazy and they start being self-centered and saying, well, what's in it for me to put up with you? And then they try and make the other person act the way they want them to act by belittling them. You never do this, or you always do this. Judgment, criticism, and those types of things blow up more marriages and interpersonal relationships than anything else.